Outer Orange.
Damn, that's crazy. We are already in set 11 as of like tomorrow, or whenever I post this, it might be the same day, but we'll have to see. But anyway, welcome back. OuterOrange here. You get to see we are here with another what to buy. This is for set 11. This is basically all the stuff you may need, may not need, things you might want to consider, and just look over some deck lists to give you some ideas of what you may want to get for your upcoming decks. There's some new decks in here, but mainly this is an upgrade set. A lot of these decks, you'll just be taking your current deck and upgrading it. And then also we do have a couple new decks, but it's not as major. We have a bunch of tech cards in here, and the tech cards are basically just little baby stuff you can add into any deck as long as you play orders. A lot of these are order focused generics, and we'll just be kind of going over them briefly because every single nation got one. And we also got promos. The promos are really good, so we can talk about those as well. So let's go again and get started. We're Dragon Empire. Now, if you're a big Dragon Empire stan, you're probably going to be focusing on Vermilion, but let's go ahead and talk about Tamayura real quick. Tamayura got got a new card. All of the gooder cards got new cards. This is the Tamayura one. Basically, if you're upgrading Tamayura, all you really need is to add this and like maybe take out a couple things here and there, but nothing too crazy. Here's a sample list. This is just a standard Tamayura list. You'll notice it doesn't look that different from probably what your current list looks like. The only real difference is here. So I think Tamayura is a really quick and easy upgrade. Vermilion though did get a full-on deck, so you will probably need to like go ahead and buy everything for him that's in this set, and then you'll need like a splash of a couple things here and there from a previous set. So here's kind of what Vermilion looks like. The main thing is that this guy right here got put into this deck, but everything else is from this set. So just something to note, you're basically just getting everything from this set and then grabbing a couple baby stuff from another set, and that's basically it for that. The biggest thing is we got these new generics. Every single nation got one of these. Basically, when it's placed, that's not through a unit's ability, card's ability. if you put in orders to make it so best like a top 5, and basically call a card that's the same Vanguard grade or lower than your current Vanguard. And there's the second effect will change between the nations, and some parts of the first effect will change as well, but for the most part, it's order focus. Second effect, lets you basically, for this one, lets you give power with your opponent's rearguard circle in the same column as this unit, so just an extra power buffer guy. So just kind of, and they usually be related to something of their nation, like they'll have different similar effects to what their nation usually does. So first off, there's like this order that you'll be able to recycle. Every single nation got one of those, so you can, if you want, you can grab them. I don't recommend it unless you want the tech options as a side option for future, because most of these cards aren't being currently played. For example, this one, if you're boosting Great Theater Grade on your opponent's Vanguard Great Theater Grade, you can still blast, and this one gets 10k, so it's an 18k booster. But again, like you have to play, but again, it's like it just depends, like if you need it, but it is generic, so you can use it. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then there's like there's another grade 1. There's actually 2 grade 1s. There's this other grade 1 where if you play in a normal order, you can still blast and choose 2 units, get 5k. Every single nation got one of these too. So that's another card to kind of keep track of. There's also the Shojidochi support. So I don't know too much about the Shojidochi stuff. I'm not going to go into detail, but I do want to highlight the fact that people think it's actually pretty decent. So if you're into Shojidochi, real quick, I'll show you a list of sort of what Shojidochi started to look like here. Kind of give you a sample idea. I do see an old card right here. I do see the Persona Chalice, so that might be something to consider. We got the Stealthy, which by the way did get reprinted in this set. It's a manga rare version of it, but it's there. We're running the old guy with the shoes, so this is another guy you may want to keep track of while you're hunting down for cards if you want to start from scratch. And then just to give you an idea, the manga rare is all the way down here. This is what it looks like. So this is also a representation of the other Stealth Fiend girl, so you can also run that. And then also the snake is in the set, so now you can finally play Genma. And if you're interested in Genma, I think it's Genma. I think his name is Genma. Something like this. But here's a sample list of Genma, so you can kind of look through some of the cards you may need from this. If you play normal order this turn, you can counterblast and search your deck for the serious fight, which is the order for this set. So there's that, and there's that, and then there's also a random grade 3. No, sorry, it's not this one. This is Shojoshi support. There's this one. A lot of the other nations have like a different version of this card. Basically, go over to Dark States. So Dark States got Greedon. So Greedon, again, you really just need Greedon, but also you do need this card. So if you want to buy into Greedon, if you already have Greedon, you basically just need this card as like your biggest upgrade, along with Greedon himself. Give you a sample list here of what Greedon's looking like, so you notice, people are running this. Some people are the Dragon Tree stuff too, so you can kind of look into that as well. And here's the new guy. He basically counts as like all the names of all the Desire Devils, so you can kind of go crazy with him. You do need Mask, by the way. This is a Mask deck, so if you haven't picked up Mask orders or you haven't been playing Mask decks, you will need this. It is kind of part of the deck, so you want to find your Greedons and all that good stuff, so you're going to need this. And keep in mind, you do still run the old one for the most part, for what I've been seeing, so just something to be aware of. Chaos did get some support here. Mainly, again, this is pretty simple. You really just need Chaos as the main thing that you want to buy into, but also you may want to pick up this guy because this guy helps with Chaos. So that's like the main 2 things you'd want to add to your deck. Everything else in here is kind of like wishy-washy stuff you really don't need. need any of it. I will say Chaos has been topping, by the way, and been doing pretty decently well. It's not the, you know, it's not nothing insane, but just to give you a sample list, if you were trying to build Chaos, or if you already have a deck, you really don't need to go too far. So running the on hits, I don't really think you need the on hit, just FYI, but it's still good. This order is pretty insane. If you're really going into Chaos, I really recommend picking up this order. The cyclers are kind of okay, but it's also just good to kind of see your deck a little bit more. So, you know, it's just something to consider. But the biggest thing is definitely the Pakanis, so you're definitely gonna need those. So that's basically Chaos. And then we did get some weird Jet support. Jet hasn't changed at all. There is this, of course, again, going back to the generics, the Dark States does have one too, and some people are running these. So if you feel you need this, you can pick it up. We got this Fafnir support right here. So if you're playing Fafnir, here's another option. Here's the Lukier card, by the way. So if you're trying to build Lukier, you kind of need this card. Actually, this is definitely a staple for you. And then last but not least, we of course got the generics again. So here they are right here. This is the one that searches for this order. So if you want to play into that, it's the same effect as the other ones. You can do that. There's this 3 and 2 that kind of do like random stuff. Like all these, they just do random things. They're not really like doing much. They're just like random support. This one gets a crit though if you like have like the whole like chain of them. We also got this random order right here. It's like a defensive order. You can soap blast a trigger and it gets like a ton of power. So if you want to play more defensive text, this is a really good card to pick up as well. Everything else in here is just basically hello, I get power. This one's pretty okay. If you play a normal order, you can call her from soul to the board, and then you can 2 drops. So basically you call her out and then you just soul blast. So first soul blast, she comes out. So every time you play an order, so also just nice little side support that you can go with. There's like some random other cards that, like this one's supposed to be Barrow Magnus support, but it's not really doing much. I don't think you really need anything for Barrow Magnus. I think Barrow Magnus is fine just the way it is. And yeah. And this one's also pretty interesting. If you are really into this kind of thing, it's when called from drop specifically, you can just card a card. It gets 10k, your opponent can't call Sentinels. So you can kind of, if you find a way to get out from soul, like through Lukia or something like that, then you can use this to kind of apply more pressure. That power is pretty high. If it's called from soul, you can actually aggro pretty well, because it's under persona, that's 33, and your opponent can't use Sentinels if it's like the final attack, and you know, and it's like even bigger. You stack this somehow, you know, it's gonna be a very good lethal finish. So something to keep in mind there. And I think that's it for this one. We did get the reprints here. This reprint is very whatever, but we did get the green on. Pretty manga art, by the way. Looks absolutely amazing. I think that's it for Dark States. I don't think there's anything else in here that's like too crazy. Again, if you want to look into the tech cards, you can. If you feel like there's something in there that you want to use, go for it. I'm not familiar enough with seeing these tech cards being used yet. I can see a feature where they can be used. So if you feel like you want to just pick them up to kind of have them, that's fine. But for the most part, you're mainly focusing on the grade 2 generic and whatever your boss card is. And then a boss card support if there is any. And honestly, that's like the main thing with most of these decks that we'll be seeing. Going to Brand Gate, kind of a similar thing. I will say Sussman, I'm not familiar with. I don't really know what the best course to build it, but if Ava, you can go ahead and just basically pick up her, throw it into your deck, and have Persona. You don't have to change your deck at all. So towards the Blitz Order Tank Engine, which requires running the generic, and then with the generic, you can also run the safety net with these, kind of just have more protection. This card's actually really wild. It's a big high shield defense card, so you just have a ton of shield to work with. There's also some Messiah support here, so if you're trying to build Messiah, you can go after this. I haven't seen any list run this, so you may not, so you probably don't need it, but I'm just letting you know it's there, but I don't think you need to buy it. Archite got support. If you're playing Archite, you actually do want to get the new grade 1 and the new grade 2 right here. Pretty good. It's not the best support in the world, but it is needed, and same with the grade 2. Again, it kind of depends on how you build your deck, but if you're trying to, you know, build Archite, these are definitely upgrades in quotations, I would say. They don't really make the deck any stronger. They just make the deck have more access to cards, access to more monster cards. I will say if you're building Archite, a card to avoid is this one right here. This card is really bad. It doesn't have monsters card name, so if you look at top 5 and you happen to see the other 3 in your top 5, guess what? You're not really grabbing much. It's a Counterblast. A Counterblast in Archite's not very useful because you already go through a good bit of Counterblast. The 5k is like okay, but honestly, this card's just not worth it. If you're gonna upgrade Archite, definitely go for the other 2. Other than that, there's the Sussman. I don't really have too much information on the Sussman, and then of course we have more of the generic cards, and then there's also this random card that got added for the monster card, the other monster card, the grade 3. Basically, if you play that one grade 3 Vanguard, you can play this with it. It's not very useful, but if you're trying to go for that, you can buy it and kind of have access to that. So that's completely up to you. After that, everything else is like more of the weird generic cards and some of the Sussman support that I don't really have too much information on, so I'm not really gonna stick on it. And so, there actually isn't a list, at least that I've seen. There's probably some lists out there, but I actually haven't seen a list. I know there's someone from a while back that used the cleaning maids with this. That made it work or something like that, but I don't know where that list is. It was a couple months back, so it's been a second. But otherwise, I think you can just roll with this. Do not forget that these more work with the this one. There's also this Ava card right here that works with the Twitter support, so something you may want to consider. I don't see people running this. I think the space is just too tight, but if you want to experiment with some text or some cheaper options, that's also a good card to go to. Last but not least, the assembler finally got printed in English, It literally took 9 months. It took 9 months to get this card, which I'm not gonna lie, out of everything in terms of promos, this is pretty bad, but I'm not here to doom and gloom. We finally got it. I will say I think it's a little too late now. I don't think there's much space for this card anymore, but this was like a really high staple for most Ava decks, and now it just kind of fell off. But hey, you can consider it. Also, Combat Rusher did get a quote-unquote reprint here, so this is Combat Rusher as well. Combat Rusher is another good staple throughout brand gates, so you can, if you really want to, it should lower the price a little bit, so that should be happening as well. Canada did get Ezel, so you will need to get all the Ezel cards. Basically anything that's Ezel related you'll probably be running. Some run also the grade 2 with Ezel as well, so this is the generic grade 2. Some people like it because of the power it gives. There's also Thegria that got her new card, so you can run this and basically just use her as a way to just keep going back and forth between personas, and you just utilizing her since she does count as like whatever Thegria you're right into. Most run the dark one now and just don't even go into the light one anymore, but I think they start off like the ride deck with her and then they just go into the dark one and just go back and forth with this one, the other one. So just something else to consider. Minerva, the big bad boy of the set. This is the main grade 1 you need. You really don't need anything else aside from the promo. This deck is basically solved. It's just run the new grade 1, run the promo, and then run all the old cards, whatever space you have left, like the Minerva, the other girl, like the Cider, whatever else is in there, the grade 2 that pops out, that multi-attack with like you, and then you're good. Like you're good. So just something to keep in mind. It's the cycler is also pretty important, but everything else is like basically solved. Like the Minerva, almost all the lists look the same. The only difference is like the Genesis cards they run. Some run more, some run less, but other than that, it's all the same. Here's a quick Ezel list. Keep in mind they are running the grade 3 from the old set. From the previous set, this is the Festival Collection set. Some run the Dragon Tree stuff as well. Very good, like generic cards just to kind of help out. Everything else is basically just the usual stuff. I think this is from the previous set or maybe even 2 sets ago, but there's also some Genesis tech cards I guess you can run, or like budget cards you can run. There's this one, which is okay. And then there's this one, which is also okay. Again, you only want to run these if you just don't have the better cards. So if you're looking for budget options, those are your budget options right there. So if you want to play Minerva but don't really care about winning or whatever, you could play that grade 3 and grade 2 I just showed. Also, I will say Keter got one of the craziest grade 2 orders ever, and I just want to say you should probably just get this, especially if you play premium. This card's actually insane. You discard and you get 5k, and then you can call up to 4 triggers from your drop zone to the guard circle, 4 heal triggers specifically. That is literally 60k worth of shield, and then if you're running like a premium or something, can be even higher. The fact that you can discard a heal and then use the same heal to help guard with is insane. This is a very high shield value card. I think this card is actually cracked as hell. I'll be picking this up. You should pick it up as well. Is the Sequana. So, you know, if you're looking for Sequana while play Youthberg, you have access to that. And then also we have this guy right here, which is also Calibri. So Calibri got like a reprint quotation. So if you like Calibri, this is another card you can look into. It might go down in price a little bit because now there's other access to it, but that's about it for this one. Let's go over to Stakea. Stakea got the Mystic support, so you just need to grab all the Mystic stuff. I recommend grabbing Maples. If you have them and they're not too expensive, grab your Maples. Well, it does work really well in this. It makes the condition of your opponent to discard happen more often, since every time you place it, you can also call it the Maple and kind of just go, you know, have that board stake, just keep that board stay healthy. Roroa hasn't changed at all. All you do is add this one card and that's it, and then like maybe lower the ratios of like the grade 3 Radowina or something. And then this card, this is a Roroa support card. It's really bad. It's not very useful. From my opinion, from what I've been talking to people about and, you know, discussing and kind of going over testing stuff like that, this card is just doesn't do what you want it to do. The other support is just better. You do want the mushrooms, by the way. I've talked about the mushrooms in the past. The mushrooms are still good in almost all these decks, including some decks that we talk about here in a little bit. So I definitely want to do that. Flagbrick hasn't had any changes, so Flagbrick stays the same. We did get the Cycler card. She's pretty good. Not the Cycler card, sorry, the generic of the set. She's pretty good. She lets you basically grab blitzes and do kind of funny blitz to defensive stuff. So just a little small defensive power creep. Really good stuff. We had this new card to draw and kind of go through more of your deck, where I don't think you need this card as much. If you're running the blue storm whatever order card engine, I guess you can use it. More defensive weird support. We got this card. You can actually run this in Zorka. Basically at the 4th battle you can retire to, and for a counter blast. So so that's really useful as well. It's when it attacks Vanguard. So just another card you can run. You can throw it in Zorka, all that kind of goodie stuff. There is this random Shield Fisher card right here. It's not very good, but you can grab it if you think Shield Fisher has more support coming in the future. You can grab it now. It's a common, so you know, if you find it in packs or whatever, I think it's the best way to grab it. I don't think you need to buy it, but it is Shield Fisher for support, so yay, Shield Fisher support. I guess, I don't know, I like Shield Fisher, but I'm not gonna lie, there's nothing really good going for him right now in D, at least. And in premium you can do some shenanigans, but I think that's basically it. There's also like this card right here. This guy, what's you call from drop? This is actually a really good card. It sucks it's a 3. It's kind of harder to use, but it's also a random common, a random rare generic. Like, again, like the other one, the other nations got grade 3s too. This was the one for this one. This card, okay, so here's a card to pick up. This card's insane. You should pick it up. This is like good for premium. It's good for D. It's going to be good for Zorga. It's going to be good for basically any deck. This is a top 7 searcher. It's actually just insane. Top 7 in D is like kind of cracked because there's less cards in deck. Usually work about 41 cards, right? Maybe 40. So if you drop, if you go second, all that kind of stuff. So basically this card's like kind of a staple. You should definitely be grabbing this. Also, Claudine came out, and Claudine has a bunch of order support, all this stuff. There's a bunch of different ways to build this deck. There's no like correct way to build it. There's too many different ways to build the deck. So you kind of choose your poison, how you want to build it. There's also like, you got the orange in here, you got the Chalice, we got the Soul Blast Blitz Helper, we got the Nectar, we got the Sweet Honey, as you can tell it's in here. This is an order-based deck, an order-based deck, so you definitely want to run a ton of orders. And then some people just want like a random attackers and stuff like that. You gotta experiment. This is like your toolbox deck. Just do whatever you want with it. Just have fun with it. So there's that. The Deantra got reprinted for the manga rare here. Like I said, a bunch of random stuff in here, but if you're looking for main deck stuff, you have very little upgrade. This is a very easy set to upgrade for. If you want to upgrade, this is definitely the easiest set to do it with, because if you already have decks and you're upgrading, this is amazing. And then there's only like a couple new decks in here like this one, but they should be really cheap. I do want to highlight the Lyrical Monstera real quick. We did get the Stolas card. I will say this card is not very good in Fortia. I know someone's like running it, stuff like that, and someone did like get some results with it. I will say, I think in Fortia, this is a very hard card to use because the soul is extremely heavy. It is a mandatory effect. It's not like an option. You have to soul blast for her effect if you want. Like every single time she's called, basically once she enters the rearguard circle, you have to soul blast, which is really awful. Unless she's called through like a superior call like during the battle phase or something, because then the effect's completely offline. But every time she's called, you have to mandatorily soul blast no matter what. So the minute she pops on the board and you have like only one soul, guess what? You're using that soul whether like it or not, even if you can't use her effect, because her effect is a hard once per turn. So just something to keep in mind. But she is really good at Herminia, so if you're playing Herminia, you can throw her in. I don't know if she's going to be a temporary solution. Like I think she's going to be put out once the Halloween stuff comes out. But it's going to be a while until we get the Halloween stuff, so you got a couple months to play with this. So yeah, you can play with this. I will say I think Fortia is best without this card, but if you really want to experiment with it, have at it. I mean, she's not terrible, but the soul gets really bad. That's all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your weekend, all that stuff. Rosemont is happening. By the time you see this video, I should already be at Rosemont, so yay me. Can't wait to see everybody. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here, so peace out guys. Das vidanya. Don't forget to shop 50cards.shop with the code orange for all the good stuff. There's, you know, obviously the set's dropping, a couple other things are dropping, and I'll be releasing some content next week more on set 11 stuff, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, peace out. Bye.